Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Car Talk. Today on Car Talk, we're going to talk about homeschooling. What is homeschooling? A lot of legit homeschoolers will say that you have to have your PSA filed, which is you establish your own private school at home. You can name it whatever you want. Great learners at home, or fun home learners, whatever you want. You name your own school, Dinosaur Club Learner Academy, whatever you want. You pick the name, you file it with the state. I'm in California, so that's how we do it. Every state is different, but in California, you file your own. It's really easy. You just fill out a form, you submit it, and once you submit it, your home is considered a school. And you just put how many kids you're going to have at your school. If you're going to accept other kids, some people set up little hubs where they take in other kids and teach classes. A lot of parents that do this go with the unschooling method, where they don't teach any traditional classes and they kind of teach like wilderness survival, medicinal cooking, sewing, things, life skills type things. And then once you establish your school in California, you can basically get all of the things that schools get. Like you could go to like free zoo field trips, museum field trips, SeaWorld trips for like $5. There has been a little controversial things happening, or drama happening in the homeschool community, where people that set up their own private schools and they're able to go to like SeaWorld and get the free or discounted tickets would then turn around, because they get them for, I think it's like $5 or $8, something like that. Then they turn around and we're selling them for like $20 and then $10 for parking when parking is free. So, and also the same with the zoo. Those are free. They were getting free tickets from the zoo, and then they were selling them back to other homeschooling parents for $20 or something like that. So there was a little drama that happened last school year, where a lot of parents got together and they told on them. They reported them to the zoo, and then the zoo canceled that whole program and said that they were going to have to do set up like a, because you're not supposed to upsell them. You buy and get them at a discounted, for free, and then sell them to people to make profit. And so they had canceled that towards the end of the year, because it was like a big drama that happened. And I don't know, I think it's really funny, because I don't know, people are always trying to like find ways to like, make money off other people like that, instead of, being supposed to be set up as a community, where community helping each other, and people instead find it a ways to cheat other people out of stuff. So there's that way, which is you set up your own homeschool. And then those are considered the legit homeschoolers, because they don't answer to anybody. They don't have to send tests in. They don't have to do work sample things to turn into anybody. They don't have to do anything like that. I mean, if the state comes, I think you're supposed to have like some stuff like just in line to show them, but I don't think they ever come and check on anybody. And then there's like the charter school way, where you go through a charter school and they give you money every or educational funds every school year. They break it up in parts, like the fall semester, spring semester, and some give like $1,500, or some give like up to $2,000 per semester, and you could use that for lessons, surfing lessons, karate lessons, gymnastics. We've done horseback riding, Spanish, anything you want to learn, anything you want to do, you just submit it, a request to the school, and the school pays whatever provider. Like for private lessons, or even like in the community, since there's a lot of homeschoolers in California, there's a lot of places that have like special classes that are like considered homeschool classes that are like during school hours. So like there's like ballet classes or theater classes during the school time for just homeschoolers, and then the school pays for it. And then there's other groups also. There's a lot of like little usually at churches, there's somebody that will organize and have a whole bunch of different vendors that teach like science, the core stuff, plus like sewing or cooking or different things like that. And they're all at one place, which is usually a church, and you pay per semester like $200 to $300 per semester out of your education fund. So you tell the school you want to take this class, and the school pays them, and then you just take your kid there 2 days a week or whatever it is to take the class. And since you're with a charter, you have to turn in work samples once a month. And for the younger grades, it rotates. So like 1 month they'll ask for like a language arts work sample. The next month it'll be a math work sample. The next month after that it'll be science work sample. And it could be anything. Like some people get very creative, and if it's for science, their kid will be doing something science, and they'll take a picture of it and they'll send that in as a work sample, because it's more of a hands-on. Some schools are stricter, some charter schools that people don't like as much. There's some very lenient ones, and then there's some that are stricter that don't allow that kind of thing. So the lenient ones are full usually and have a waiting list, and the stricter ones, people they're usually open, because nobody wants to go to them because they're stricter with the stuff. But some people like the stricter schools too. And we've been at all kinds of different ones of those. And a lot of people that do this charter school or homeschool option also do community college at the same time for high school. Oh, and when you're in a charter school, once you get to high school, your work samples are every month you have to turn in for every subject that you're taking. You have to turn in a work sample of what you did. It's just one little work sample. It's not like asking much. And for the people that do the unschooling, it is much, because they don't like to conform to rules like this. A lot of kids that had problems in public school that switch to homeschooling, they go through this phase where they don't want to do any work because of issues that they had in public school. So in the charter school option, there's also like a virtual option where you, because you have the option of doing classes yourself. Like they give you an outline of stuff that you should cover and you should learn, and you do it on your own. You have an outline, and you decide like, okay, for language arts, we're going to read, 1984, we're going to read this, we're going to read that. And you do assignments based on that. They also offer virtual academies, which is their schools online. So they'll say, okay, Tuesdays and Thursdays, our class is going to be at this time, come online to a Zoom class, and then you turn in the samples. They're usually really easy classes, not difficult at all, and they work really hard with the students. They don't want anybody to fail, so they extend deadlines, and they work with the kids, especially if they come from public school where they had a lot of issues, and some kids just with the pressure of public school, I guess, when they get to the charter schools, they try to be really lenient with the kids so that it's not so stressful for them. And then my biggest issue with the public schools was always history. I remember in high school, like the history that we were taught, and then I would tell my mom, which is my grandmother. I was raised by my grandmothers. My mother is my grandmother, and I would tell her like what we would learn, and she'd be like, "No, that is not accurate." But she took her our family is like both sides of the border. Like before there was any border, our people were able to cross back and forth. It was no border. It was no crossing. It was just the land, you know. And so when she was born, she went to school in Mexico, and in Mexico, it's they teach everything more advanced, and they teach, I think, is the true history of things, and accurately. And in math, the kids are more advanced. They teach their, like when she saw my math, like when I was in 5th grade, she was like, "What? You're barely doing that?" You know, she thought it was so simple, you know, because they do way advanced math. And she didn't even go through all the grades of school. So, but history was a big one that she would tell me it wasn't true, things weren't true, or like at that time we still learned about Columbus discovering America, and she would tell me, you know, stuff. And then at first I would go tell my teachers like, hey, that's not true. But then no, I would have problems with at school because of that. And so then I just learned to just, you know, not tell anybody and just know it, and listen to the teachers, and you know what they wanted me to write on the paper, and know what the answers were that they wanted me to give to pass the class. And it wasn't until I got to college, and when we took I took a history, and in that history class they told us the true history. And even the professor was telling us that how it was so, what was taught in high school was wrong. And I was so mad. I remember I was like crying in class, because I was like, they know that it's wrong, but why do they teach it? Like, why are they teaching this to kids? You know, why? I cried in class. It was like pretty embarrassing for me. It wasn't embarrassing. I was like, it was eye-opening. And then I wasn't the only one, actually. There was a lot of students. Some people actually were, you know, angrily saying their opinions about stuff, and they were getting really mad. And then I took other classes like Chicano studies, and things like that, where it gets really into like the fight, you know. So then after that history class, I also took a child development class. And in that child development class, they were teaching how they say that young kids shouldn't be eating like high processed or sugary foods, because they're not able to learn as much. Their attention is like gone. And then I was like, I think during that time I also had children. So then I was like, well, why do they feed that at school? Like, why is that the majority of the school lunch? Like, I was like, well, they know, like, these are experts. They know that, kids are not going to learn well, and it's not healthy for them. And they're not going to, absorb any of the information that they're giving them after they eat all of this stuff. And, then they're like, wonder why the kids are hyper. And then they want to medicate the kids for being hyper. And it was just, I was very conflicted, because I was like, upset that the whole thing was set up for the kids to fail. And we also learned about, they were saying that like high school kids, boys, girls, they need to sleep a lot. They need to sleep a lot. They sleep more, and they don't start really able to learn. There's always an exception, because there's like, I have a child who is I have a child who is very much like a morning person, like gets up early in the morning and wants to do all her things, but I've had the others too. And so for in the class, they were saying that teenagers need extra like time to sleep, right? And they don't start to absorb information or learn, pick up what people are putting down until like around 11 noon, around that time. So again, I was like, why don't they start high school at 11? If it's experts are telling you this, it's known. Like, why again are they setting up kids to fail? So I just had a lot of questions about the whole education system. And but again, history was a big one. Like, I was always really careful with the history books. Really early, I would get books about history and indigenous history, because, like my younger daughter said, the victors are the ones that write it, and it's his story. History. I thought that was so funny and clever that she told me that, because I'm like, yes, girl, yes. Kids are smart, so they try to get them at a young age when they're little sponges picking up stuff, and they want to indoctrinate them with all this stuff. And around high school, like, since my daughter has been doing these different programs, she has had friends that have decided that they've wanted to try public school, going to regular old public school. And one of her friends recently went, and she was like, oh, another brick in the wall. I was like, yeah. So she doesn't like want to try any. There's like a creative art school. She's really artsy, and there's a creative art school, and I told her, hey, do you want to try that school? Just to get the experience, be around kids and stuff like that, or but she's like, nah. She likes taking college classes. She likes older people. She likes being around older people. Like, I don't know, she meshes well. Like, I've noticed when we go places, it's always like the older people that she tends to talk to. Younger people, like immature younger people, I think they get on her nerves. And I think that's true with a lot of homeschool kids. They have, like, they dance to the beat of their own drum, and they have their own ideas, their own thinking. They're not like cookie cutter like most. You go to a high school, there's cliques, and they're all like the same. All the kids are the same. Homeschool kids are not like that. They're all unique and different. So there's like I said, for the homeschool option, there's when you make your own private school, you go to a charter school, and then the online, where you do the online with a school, but it's online at home. So you do your school's online, basically. But you still have to answer to a teacher. You still have to do, all the things that they tell you. But I think that the option, when they give you the funds to take classes and do stuff, that's cool, because you get to use the money for whatever your kid likes to do. I know Arizona has a really cool program that I wish they had here, where it's just every kid gets like $8,000 or something like that for each kid, and they could use it to go to any school that they want. So it's usually like, you just at your school, you just go to your neighborhood school. You live in a good neighborhood, you have a good school. If not, then your neighborhood school sucks, and you try to put in a transfer to go to another neighborhood school. Well, this is like more makes them work for it, because they give the $8,000 for each kid, and then it's up to them to decide like where they're going to use that, to private school or to whatever school that they choose to use it, or even the homeschool option. So get involved with the education of your kids. A lot of parents, they just try to push it off, like they don't even want to think about it, and they just push it off. I think younger parents too, they just think like, oh, that's up to them, let them teach them, and they don't want to worry about it. Just like, hey, did you do your homework? Hey, listen to your teacher. Hey, And I also was like that before with my oldest son. I was really young when I had him, and he was at a public school at that time, and he used to love school, and he was really good in school, and and then the teacher had a nervous breakdown, and she was being really mean to the kids, and to my son she was being mean. She flipped his desk over, and like, instead of just sticking up for him and taking his side, I took the teacher's side. I was like, she's probably really stressed out. What did you guys do? Like, you have to, she has a lot of, because I just think like they have a lot of kids, and I wish I would have stuck up for him more, but back then I just had the mentality of, you know, listen to your teacher, follow the rules, and so then I was really busy too, because I also was going to school, and like I just had a lot of things going, so it was like I just didn't have time to like really, I think like, also I'm not making excuses, but I am making excuses. And I was young also, let me add that I was younger. And so then the teacher ended up having a nervous breakdown because there was other incidents, and they switched her out, and they brought in another teacher that was like a counselor teacher that was super nice, and he switched everything around. I did stick up for him at the meeting because she was like saying bad stuff about my son, like, oh, he's cracking, making jokes and not paying attention in class. I'm like, well, he's always loved school until your class, because he was loved school, loved homework, like he liked it until her class, and then he like hated it. So I was like, I don't know, because he always loved school until he was with you. And she was just like, so anyways, so if we have options, I know in a lot of places, like in California, they're always threatening to take away the homeschool options and different options that are available to parents. And there's like a group of homeschool parents that are just like, nope, they're not gonna, they'll go to every rally, they'll go up, and they don't want that to happen, for the younger, kids, younger generations. And it just gets like, oh, and a lot of parents also pulled out of public school to homeschool during COVID time, and also to avoid vaccination, because if you're doing homeschool, you don't have to do the mandatory vaccination because you're at home. So you can have, that's like an exemption, because in California they're taking away a lot of the exemptions. Like before, it was really easy to get an exemption for vaccinations at schools, and recently I think they passed some law where it's like you're not allowed to do that. Like you have to have the vaccination if you're going to go to schools. And I mean, a lot of parents are on board with that. If you're going to go to school, you should be vaccinated. So then that's why a lot of people also pulled out their kids, and there's like a lot of homeschool options in California. A lot of homeschools, charter schools, and there's just like a lot of options for it. I really get like upset when like people come like from other countries and they take advantage of all of these homeschool opportunities, and they get the funding, and then there's kids that like are American from here, and there's no room for them in the schools because of the people that come in that take their spot. And that upsets me, because I feel like they should have first priority. Like in other countries, in Mexico especially, like you have to be a citizen of there, and it always has to be it has to be the Mexican citizens first before they allow for anybody else to be considered. And that's not the case here. It's even in the colleges, like it's not the case. Like anybody can get free education except for Americans usually. But so that's upsetting to me, when I see that, like parents that are like, oh, I've been on the waiting list and I can't get in, and then you see other people that come in from other countries and they're right away, they get in and they're taking the spots of Americans that should be first in line to, for all of the programs, not just the education, all of the programs. But anyways, bendición.